mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, guess any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Pags, here in beautiful Clearwater Beach. Well, just Clearwater, Florida. I got Bo with me. I got McLovin. McLovin's going to be on today. He's not getting any hips or knees or anything replaced, right?
No, that's Thursday.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and happy Tuesday to you, Mom. Hope everything is well. Lots to talk about today, starting with the goofball behind you.
Yep.
I tell you,
I knew we had to lead off with this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did a little special video after I announced it to you guys. Like I told you guys because somebody had let me know right away. It didn't get around the ballpark for another hour. It was amazing how it took. Like I was telling people that we signed, Saquon. They're like, no, and then the word really got out, and they're like, oh, did you hear about Saquon? I'm like, yeah, I announced that an hour and a half ago. So, which was really kind of cool to be like. I like it when I'm on top of it and I'm way ahead of the game. So, because I know I let you guys know, and you're like, what, huh? And then, of course, a little bit later, I did the. Hey, I gotta let Tiki Barber know just how much I care about him, and that was a beautiful, I think of just like laughing in his face, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So it was good. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, there were rumors of Saquon going to Philly for a little bit anyway, right? So I mean, it's not like it was the biggest shock ever. Tiki coming out and saying something crazy is a little weird, right? But I did like Saquon's clap back to him. He's just like, you've been a hater since I got here. And, when you see me, don't smile in my face.
Right.
And
well,
like,
and
that's fair.
He has been a hater. You know what I mean? He's actually a hater of anybody who puts on a Giants uniform in a running back position. He wants to be known as the only guy who ever ran, in the Giants. It's like, and he wasn't even that great. In fact, he used to fumble all the time, from what I remember. So, I mean, he said, "Oh, he's dead. He's dead to him." That's awesome. I wouldn't want it any other way, right. Because it's like, why would we care about the Giants? Your Giants legacy. The Giants almost killed his career, is what the problem is. You guys spend stupid money on dumb quarterbacks. So, hey, listen, awesome. I appreciate that. What I do not understand, and I might be a little bit in the minority here, is that these aren't that pickup isn't necessarily what the Eagles need. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the one thing that I'm a little confused about. They decided to spend money in a spot where they don't normally spend money, which I'm okay with. All right. You've got your running back now for the next few years, and you're hoping that there's enough tread on these tires that it is going to make the difference. And, yesterday was the biggest jump. The Eagles had the biggest jump in odds for people betting to win the Super Bowl. So it's kind of interesting how that worked. And everybody's then turning it around and saying, well, think about McCaffrey, how he all of a sudden became very healthy, and played very healthy once he got to a better team. So there is some of that. However,
I mean, you definitely have a better offensive line than the Giants. I mean, there's no question there.
No doubt whatsoever. So, and I mean, obviously we signed Dickerson. We now have, instead of Kelsey being there, we're going to have Juergens, who is ready to go. Like he was the heir apparent anyways, and is very Kelsey-like in the way he does things. So I that's fine. But the defense is kind of where everything has been, like that's where the focus needed to be. And to spend that type of money. Now, I understand they also got Huff, who is, my thought is that he can only rush the quarterback. You can't play him against the run. Like that's you're running the ball. He's not that guy. He's only like 260 pounds. So, and I think about that. Like I think about literally Jordan Mailata playing up against him, and they're running the ball. He's going to get blown off the ball every time because 360 is going to be 260, and I don't care how agile you are.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, you might win a couple of times, but for the most part, mass wins.
Correct. So the fact that this guy's got the fastest speed to the quarterback, obviously that was one of the problems that we had because we were always a little slow. And if you're not going to spend the money on the linebackers, you're going to have to get to the quarterback. So that's going to be a real big deal. And going back to the wide nine should help that. However, again, we still haven't really fixed any of the problems that we had. We had a decent running back who wound up moving on, which is fine, but ultimately they still have a lot of work to do, and neither of these signings help that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, there's definite questions on the team. But, I mean, if they knew that Swift was moving on, I guess bringing Barkley in does make sense. And, I mean, I get why he wanted to go to Philly, right? Because even if it wasn't necessarily the most amount of money, the way that he was getting jerked around by the Giants over the last 2 years, you want to be in the division. You want to stick it to them at least a couple of times a year. Right.
Absolutely.
Like if you have that opportunity, it's like, oh, okay, I can go to a better team, and the team that didn't show faith in me, didn't want to pay me, just kind of strung me along. Oh, I can go beat them up a couple times. Yeah, let's do that.
Every time I can. I'd love to.
Yeah, exactly.
Anytime we can. So and I can appreciate that. Like there's absolutely something to be said for that. I guess I just, all of that being said, it's still not, that's not what we needed. And that's where I'm getting at this. Like, that's the problem I'm running into, that, hey, we still need linebackers. That problem didn't go away. And if we switch to a 3-4, which I believe that's what Vic likes to run. Vic likes to run the 3-4. So it becomes more of a challenge to be like, okay, now we got to get 4 linebackers. So you could say Reddick's a linebacker. You could maybe put this guy as outside linebacker, edge rushing linebacker, if he can cover some. But he better be able to cover. I don't know him to be able to cover. I know him as a sack specialist.
Yeah, it's funny. It reminds me a lot of how we used Jamal Adams, right? Now, he was listed as a safety, but he would essentially be playing that same kind of spot. And he was an absolute liability in coverage. Right. And I would imagine this guy probably will be too.
Yeah.
Because although Jamal Adams was great at rushing the quarterback, right? Like he was great in that. He wasn't afraid to hit. So he was decent in the run game. Obviously he couldn't stay healthy, but as soon as it became a coverage issue, it was an issue.
Right. Right. And that's where I kind of feel like, what are we going to do to solve that problem? And we better start addressing it soon, because it's going to be an issue. And I will get to the Hulk Hogan thing. I did go there. It was a little bit of fun. I did not sing yesterday. I wanted to just check out the competition. But I know people are asking about how Hulk Hogan, he was there. I did show up a little bit later than I wanted to, so I didn't really get into the competition. But it was a little bit of fun, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we got some football to talk about because there was about 1,000 signings yesterday. And that's as I look at it, we're talking about, here's all that happened on March 10th. Today's March 11th, right? Or today's the 12th?
Today's
the
12th.
12th. So, I mean, obviously it was like, Fletcher Cox retiring. Baker Mayfield signed a 3-year deal. Russell Wilson went to the Steelers. And then, those were the main ones. Everybody else, like the Bears signed safety Kevin Byard. Anybody who stayed with the team just stayed with the team. I ain't really talking about any of those. But here we got, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. The Commanders signed a kicker and an offensive line. offensive lineman, to a 3-year, $16 million deal, which that's nothing.
They got Mariota for a 1 year, $6 million that has incentives to 10, but
and like if he gets to play,
so it's 6.
Yeah, exactly. The Dolphins sign a center, Aaron Brewer, Jordan Brooks. There was a punter signed. I'm trying to
Jordan
find.
Brooks was a little bit of a bummer because he came from Seattle, right?
Okay.
And that was one of our linebackers that was actually good, right? We had a huge linebacker issue as well. Brooks was good. Wagner was good. And, obviously Wagner wasn't as good in coverage, but Brooks was probably one of our more solid linebackers. So it was a little disappointing to see him go.
Gotcha. The 49ers signed a tight end. I guess this guy's got to be a blocking tight end because I can't imagine that they're getting rid of their tight end just yet. Charlie Warner. And signed defensive end Yetur Gross-Mateos. That name doesn't really do anything to me.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, but he's getting $9 million a year, so he's just making some money.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor goes to the Jets.
Yep.
The Texans did a linebacker, Aziz Al-Shair, to 3-year, $34 million. That's a lot of money.
That is.
So. And a defensive lineman, Danico Autry, to $10 million a year deal for 2 years. The Patriots signed Antonio Gibson, 3 years, $11.25, running back there. And
Brissett returns to the Pats.
Yes, I saw that. I haven't quite made it today. How about Austin Eckler going to the Commanders?
Yeah.
And Dorrance Armstrong, a 3-year, $45 million deal. He's a defensive end. He's an edge rusher. That's probably a good sign for there. Linebacker Zaire Franklin goes to the Colts. And oh my God, there's so many of these things. So the Giants replace Saquon with Devin Singletary to a 3-year, $16.5 million deal. And they also signed John Runyon Jr. Because they need definitely every little bit of help that they can get there. So another linebacker, Blake Cashman, goes to the Vikings. You know whose name I don't see anywhere here? I don't see. There he is. They re-signed Noah Fant.
Yes. It's the only tight end on the books because we lost the other two. Disley went to the Chargers. And then Colby Parkinson went to the Rams. So as it sat, if they didn't get a deal done with Fant, there wasn't even going to be a tight end on the roster.
Gotcha. And who else did I see they just re-signed? Leonard Williams. 3 years, $64.5 million deal. That's
so that you knew they were going to do because they gave up a second and a fourth to go get him. There's no way you're going to use him for half a year, give up that draft capital and let him walk. So you knew they were going to, clear cap space to sign that guy.
Okay. And of course, besides Saquon Barkley, the big thing that happened yesterday was that the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million deal.
Yep.
How ridiculous is that?
Hey, that dude's agent is a champ because that guy gets him so much guaranteed money. It's unreal.
Yeah, it's that kind of, whatever. 4 years. I mean, he's going to be 39 when that's over, or 40 actually. He'll be touching 40 because he's going to be 36 at the start of this season.
Yeah.
So, I think
he's a significant upgrade from what they had.
I can believe that. So, but still, it's Kirk Cousins. He is the best quarterback in that division, but just because that division stinks. You know what I mean?
But if you're trying to get into the playoffs consistently and you can get competent quarterback play, right? It doesn't have to be great because your division sucks. So as long as he's decent, that defense was good. He has some nice weapons around him. I feel like the new coach isn't going to forget that Bijan is on the roster. So, they should have a running game.
How about, so here's the rest of the other quarterbacks and the other people that Michael Pittman gets a 3-year, $71.5 million deal with the Colts, re-signed there. The Bears signed DeAndre Swift for $24.5 million for 3 years.
Yep.
Gardner Minshew is now a Raider,
Yep.
And he signs a
What do you
2-year
think of
deal.
I mean, is he better than O'Connell? Maybe a little, but that's not like some big step forward.
No, and it's, you know what? It's the Raiders, so it's unfortunately he's going there to die, But I think Vegas is more his speed. I think I think he'll do well in Vegas anyways, just because it's him in Vegas.
Yeah.
The Raiders signed Christian Wilkins to a 4-year, $110 million deal. So defensive tackle. So they tried to shore up their defensive line there. Xavier McKinney, 4 years, $68 million to the Packers. And of course, Josh Jacobs for a 4-year, $48 million running back.
Yep. That was a nice signing for them.
Yeah, I especially since you're losing Jones, but you got so much good production out of Jones last year. Why? Like he's been good for you guys. Why change that when you could have got him for maybe a little bit less? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but if you were going side by side, Jacobs is better. But I mean, I don't know if it's enough better, but I don't know. I think they got a little bit better at the position. It was a nice pickup, but I mean, it's not necessarily. I don't know that it changes their win total.
You're right. No, I don't think it changes that at all. So, and I think that they're still going to try to trade up to get. I think they're going to go after Caleb. I really believe that. And now I think so, and I think that they are dumb enough. I'm saying the Raiders. The Raiders are dumb enough.
The Raiders.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking Green Bay. I was like, why would they do that?
I'm sorry. I
looked decent at the end of the year.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about the Raiders because I was just talking about the Raiders, but then then we switched over to the Packers. But the Raiders, I think the Raiders are dumb enough to trade up. I don't think that the Packers are going to obviously trade up. They got Jordan Love. Jordan Love's their guy.
He looked decent, especially going down the stretch of the year. I mean, I feel like you have to stick with Jordan Love, see what he has.
Well, I mean, obviously you waited him out. You waited Rodgers out for this. So obviously it's worthwhile there. He won a playoff game against Dallas in Dallas. So that's, something to go for too. It's, like I said, I thought that Jones was good, but Jacobs, like I said, Jacobs is a strong running back. So, I mean, they're going to be able to do things. But as I wanted to go back to the Raiders, because as I'm looking at this Raiders, I'm still looking at Gardner Minshew in the 2-year deal. And I think that they are going to now give away a couple of first-round picks to go after that number 1 pick to go get. It's the only thing I could think of is because I said Chicago now doesn't have a place to trade their quarterback. They have nowhere for their quarterback to go. So they're stuck with
the market was great anyway.
Well, it was Raiders, and like I kind of thought the Raiders, and I kind of thought of
Steelers
Atlanta.
maybe. Yeah, Steelers could have, Atlanta could have, right? But those dominoes had already fallen. So now you're looking at what you might get. I mean, the other guys that need them have high enough draft picks. They're going to get one of the 6 guys.
Right. So, but I think that the Raiders will give up a couple of first-round picks to get that number 1 pick. And that means that's going to move Chicago down to the 9 and 10 spot. Yeah. So, which I don't know is enough. Do you trade back up to the maybe, to the Arizona pick? Do you trade 2 picks up? Would you trade the 9 and the 10 pick for the 4 pick to try to get the wide receiver? Yeah.
No, because there's some other receivers in this group that are also really good. So I think even sitting at 9, you could still get one of those guys.
Okay, but he's not Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, there is a significant drop off when you go from him to the next wide receiver on the bunch.
Sure.
So, but here's for Eagles fans: Jalen Reagor has a job. He got signed by the Patriots for a 1-year, $1.3 million deal. Jameis Winston is a Brown.
Yep.
He signed for a 1-year deal. Marcus Mariota, we already mentioned. I mean, that's it. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones actually winds up going in the division to the Vikings.
And Sam Darnold is going to the Vikings.
Here's one, though. The Bengals traded Mixon to the Texans.
Oh, I didn't hear that one. Okay.
Yeah, that one.
Right on.
Yeah, so it was. That's on my list right here. So that's an interesting one. It doesn't really say what the trade was for, but that it occurred. So I think that's that's actually. I know that they were in that Saquon situation, so maybe this is what resolves that issue for them.
Yeah.
And that's all the transactions that I have so far. I mean, it's like there's going to be a lot more that happens. Obviously, anybody who was
the Brian Burns one was kind of crazy to me. So they don't want to spend money on a running back. They don't necessarily want to address some of the things they need, but they're going to drop a grip on Brian Burns, 5-year, 150 mil, 87.5 guaranteed. And the Panthers get a second and a fifth. Now, obviously the Panthers needed to move on from him, but just an odd spot for the Giants to now finally spend some money.
Yeah, well, just because everybody else is spending some money, I guess they have to. They got to keep their base a little bit happy, but it's been.
Oh, you didn't like that, Sonia? Yeah, it was. It was a little. I mean, I figured the Panthers weren't going to get rid of him, but I was really surprised that the Giants gave him so much, especially because they weren't spending money anywhere else.
Yeah, the problem is that you're not going to get higher. Like we think that we overvalue our trade some. I think in general. So it's not necessarily the same. Like we're not going to be able to think like we think that we can get like a 2nd round pick or a 3rd round pick, but really a 4th round pick is really all they're going to get in some cases.
Especially because everybody knew the Panthers couldn't afford him. So
right.
They sort of had you over a barrel anyway, because they know you can't sign what he's going to go for. So at the end of the day, you just kind of get the trade value you can. The Panthers, they don't have picks, they don't have money. So any picks coming in is better than what they
had. The Dirty Birds are going to dominate. I don't think so. See, and here's the problem with getting Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a coach killer. And you could have all these great things that are going to happen. Truth of the matter is that I don't believe it I don't believe one bit. I think
they'll be a double-digit win team. They won't do anything in the playoffs, but they'll be a double-digit win team.
Yeah, and double digits might be enough to win that division.
Exactly.
I mean, the NFC South really hasn't gotten any better with any of this. So what happened here? I think that Joe Mixon got traded to the Texans. Doesn't really say, but it does say that they were going to drop him if he didn't trade. So that's kind of how that works out. I got to imagine they probably got like a 5th round pick for him, which would sound about right if they were going to drop him for that. But you know what I didn't hear a lot of? Seahawks stuff.
That's because we were sellers. We were just dishing players out. It's been a lot so far. So we've already gotten rid of a couple of tight ends. We've gotten rid of a couple of safeties. We've gotten rid of a couple of linebackers, a couple of defensive players. I mean, really, we only re-signed a couple of people, and we haven't acquired anybody yet. So I'm intrigued to see what it is the plan is, because at this point, there's not a lot of defense on this team right now. Now, you knew that they were going to move a lot of pieces on the defense because they were a bottom 5 defense the last 4 years, right? 4 or 5 years. So you knew that they were going to move a lot of those pieces out. They were expensive. They underperformed. But being as the first day was mostly just getting rid of guys, man, I hope they have a plan.
Exactly. Exactly. Uh, I do believe here, just to answer this question, I do believe they're going to keep Hassan Reddick. I think Reddick is the guy that they keep. I think they get rid of Sweat. I think that he is the one that is able to transition to linebacker and edge rusher in Vic Fangio's system better than Sweat can. And that's going to be part of the issue here. I think that they're also going to probably move Carter out to the outside because he runs a 3-4 defense. So they're going to have to start shifting stuff around in general for the 3-4. So I think Carter is going to be more of a defensive end, and you're going to have Davis still be in the center. Again, we'll have to see how that all works. But you know what else team I didn't see?
Oh, I was just going to respond to Sonia here. So as far as the selling of the team, we haven't heard any rumblings of offers as of yet. So 2025 wasn't a hard number. It was just that she was supposed to keep the team until then. So what it does beyond there is tough to say. I would imagine they're going to finish getting the new coaching staff set, all the new people in, and, have a year or two under the new regime, to build value back up, basically. So, but haven't heard anything official as far as anybody coming together as far as a ownership group trying to buy it.
Gotcha. There we go. And I just want to make sure that I didn't see anything. Did I miss anything here? Nope, I didn't. The other team that I don't really see that I'm looking for, the Cow Turds. No cow plops.
They didn't do a lot. They didn't
do anything. Like zero. They did absolutely zero.
Yeah,
like
they moved Pollard. That's it.
Yeah, did they move him? They trade him, or like he was a?
Yeah, he was a free agent. They just didn't. They just didn't bring him back. He goes to the Titans. So, yeah, I mean, they really haven't addressed any concerns. So we'll see.
On this whole list, like I'm going all the way back to March 6th. I don't see the Cowboys re-signed defensive tackle Carl Davis.
Brad, bring that energy to our hater show April 1st.
There you go. They do stink right now. But yeah, I don't think they leave Seattle. There's no chance that they're going to do that.
There's no chance to do that. The ownership group wouldn't allow it, as well as the NFL owners probably wouldn't vote for it to move.
No, that the 12s are too big of a base.
Exactly, it's too good of a market. You can't walk away from that. I mean, even when the team tried to get stolen before by Ken Behring, it didn't get passed. Like he literally loaded the team up and drove it down to LA in the middle of the night, and the league made him bring it back. So
they're like, "Nope, pack your stuff back there, buddy. You what do you think you are? You know what I mean?"
It was funny though because he ended up getting forced out as an owner, right? And when he left, he actually stole the 5-story tall American flag off the Kingdom.
Oh wow! But yeah, well, that's kind of funny. He's like, I'm taking this and this and this and this.
Yep.
Walking out with that thing 5 stories, on his shoulder. I'm taking my ball and going home.
Right.
That's hysterical. But ultimately, it's like, and that's really it. I mean, there was a lot of trades and a lot of things, and there was a lot of, this free agent pool, as much as you heard some names and there was some drops and stuff like that made things a little bit more exciting. There wasn't, it was a shallow pool. This was fairly shallow. I mean, there wasn't a ton of stuff going on. I think you're going to see a lot more happen via trade before the draft.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it was also the first day of it, right? Because legal tampering started Monday. The league actually opens up tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's the new league year. So they can officially sign people tomorrow. So I would imagine there's going to be some stuff that pops off today, and then tomorrow probably ends up being another kind of busy day.
Yeah, I wonder how many failures Like they said that this has happened, but nope, it's not happening. Something else occurred. I wonder how much of that is going to happen.
There's always a couple of them, right, that just can't get the deal closed for whatever reason. There's always a few, but it probably won't be a ton.
The haters talk. All you have to do is for the haters talk. All you have to do is look in the right here in the wording for this show, right on your Facebook, and you will get the code for that. April 1st, just show up there, and you get to talk as much smack as you like for 2 minutes. Because I expect that I've been now sharing that out to haters who like to hate on my stuff for everything. You know, I got some people that always love to just say something, you know, like, hey, when the Flyers lost, and I'm saying I'm down in Tampa. Of course, I had another Brian because there's a lot of Brians. Brians are haters. Brians are haters. I think that that's a real thing. So if you're a Brian, you're a hater. Just how it is. And and I said to him, he's like, stay there, mush. And I'm like, it's like, if I stay here, then who are you going to be jealous, of? And really, you should make sure to join the show on April 1st.
So there you go, Brad. Follow me there on Twitter, and I will make sure that I send you the link directly.
There you go. Perfect. That day, we will be sharing the link out to the show. So, like at that day of the show, I'm going to have that. That's going to be on all the talk. It's going to be in the chats. We're going to be sharing that link out all the time. So, if you got something to hate on, we're going to make sure that you get heard.
Yep.
That's going to be a fun day. I can imagine.
Say your piece. Absolutely.
So,
I'm looking forward to it. I think this is going to be fun.
Yeah. No, I can only imagine.
Bring the heat. Bring the heat.
Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be one of those days. I can imagine. I can see it already. It's just going to be a beautiful, sunny, hater day.
Absolutely. The only thing that's a bummer is because I'm here on the West Coast, it is early. Because I feel like if this game or if this show was going to be in the afternoon, I could enjoy this with a beer and just laugh. Instead, I'm going to have some special coffee, I guess.
Well, I think it'll be great. Sorry, I had to get the key out for the lady.
Nope, it's going to be fun.
Please. Yes, I agree. I think it is definitely going to be a blast. So, unfortunately, I will not be down here because then I would be able to see, I don't care about what all the hates because I am in sunny Florida sitting by the pool over here and enjoying myself. So, but anyways, with all the football stuff, obviously I went to the baseball game yesterday and it was cool to actually see Wheeler looked great, for 3 innings. He threw 42 pitches, which is, I feel like right in line with, him starting the season and stuff like that. He's right on schedule, I think, to be able to do the things he needs to do. And if he's throwing 12 to 15 pitches an inning, he's doing well. Obviously, they didn't score any runs. Nobody scored any runs until the 8th inning. So it was like 2 runs scored by the Yankees. 9th inning, we scored a run back, and we had the bases loaded, and the ump wanted to get out. He's like, there's no chance we're giving this a tie here. Because he definitely called that last ball a strike, not to walk in the run. And it was definitely looking. He's like, and it was our 6'8" left fielder. And it was funny because the guy couldn't hit a strike to save his life. It was a full count. And it was like, this guy's got the strike zone of size of Texas and still couldn't throw a strike.
Yeah. So, that guy was just like, I just want to go home.
That's exactly what the ump did. He's like, yep, not tying this game. So, but it was a lot of fun. And then, of course, I went out to the Hulk Hogan thing yesterday, which was, it's kind of cool. You could look at the video. Like I said, I got there kind of late. So he was up on the stage. If Jimmy Hart was there, I did not know that. You know what I mean? I did not see him. But that's like right up my alley when it comes to when I think of WWE or WWF. I remember Bob Backlund. I remember Bob Backlund losing to the Iron Sheik. I remember Iron Sheik having the title for 1 month, and then he lost to Hulk Hogan, and that was after he was Thunder Lips in the Rocky movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's exactly how that all went. It was like he was Thunderlips, and then he won the title, and because he was a real American. Who fought for the rights of every man.
Right.
So, but I mean, but that's when wrestling was great. Now, not that wrestling isn't good right now, but we're getting closer and closer. We're less than a month away from WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. So it's going to be a good time. I am going to be there for that. Jordan Montgomery. I don't think so. I think that they are going to stay pat with this team right now, and they're going to wait to closer to the trade deadline unless somebody gets hurt. So that's going to be the hard part about that. I don't think that the Phillies are going to make any moves right now. I think that anybody who they were going to sign, like even Snell.
Yep.
I mean, you got that one guy who's interested in coming back who had the situation and such. I don't know what that guy's name is, but he was the one that pitched against the Dodgers the other day and pitched really well. So I know he was definitely trying to get a spot on a major league team because he is a major league pitcher. It's just that he had that indiscretion or whatever it is that you want to call it. But ultimately, I know that he's like the cheap version. Like you could get him on a league minimum because that's where he's. Trevor Bauer. Thank you. Appreciate that. So like that might be somebody worthwhile on trying to take a flyer on, but I just don't think that any MLB team wants the press that comes with him. And why has nobody signed Blake Snell? I think because they really want too much money for him. Beverages were just about the same as everywhere else. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit that one, but yeah. I mean, everything costs money down here. It's $8 for a Surfside iced tea. You know what I mean? So, which is actually not as bad. It's actually more expensive to go up to Xfinity Live and get a Surfside iced tea. So it's not too bad here. I didn't eat any food there. So I was in drinking mode, not eating mode at Hogan's Hangout. But it was cool. This has been a fun trip down here. It was my first time at spring training for the Phillies. It was a lot of people's first time. It was kind of fun. It was a good time. And I'll be there for a couple more games. I may be there tomorrow. I may be there on Thursday. Obviously, St. Patrick's Day. Trying to get a green jersey, a green Phillies jersey. They don't sell them in the store, which surprises me. Like I figured they would go crazy on those things, but I don't know. I'm still going to do probably the green pinstripes that day. Yeah, it's just got to. It's St. Patrick's Day. Make it green.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So, but anyways,
I was looking at what the current standings were for the Mariners because I didn't look. We were like 1-9 the last time I looked, and now we're 5-11. Look at us turning it on.
How about that? Getting crazy over there in Seattle, making it happen. Man, doing everything you can.
This is about to be a long year.
Hey, Brad, you send tons of questions. I don't answer every one of them. So obviously I'm not sure when you sent it, but it might have been a few minutes ago. And that's
Yep. Nope. Got to keep the show moving. Can't answer every question in the.
Exactly. As much as I'd love to, we can't do that. But
as far as getting you the link, obviously we're live on air, so we can't do it at the moment.
Yeah, like I said, all you got to do is just if you go down and take a look at all the stuff. I have it on every stuff. So if you're on my Facebook, you can definitely find it. That link is already in the paragraphs. But anyways, let me see what else is happening in the news today with sports. I only it shows all football. But
well, that's because football kind of dominated the day yesterday.
Well, and I can see that. You know what? Here's something we have to talk about. How about the fight with LSU and the girls' fight?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's something that's absolutely I didn't see the fight. I saw the one girl push the other one, and I saw the coach say, I wish you would have pushed somebody else. You want to pick on somebody real small, like half your size, just about, as she's 6'8", and the girl that she pushed was like 5'10". You know what I mean? It was like and all of those people are all of the guys that got kicked off the court and kicked out of that game are not going to be able to play for the first round of the playoffs. The first
Oh, really?
round of
I didn't hear that.
yeah, that's a
Oh,
big deal.
that is.
So it's going to be like they're going to be very shorthanded because from what I understand, it was like 6 players from each team, and they only have like 12 players, don't they? They don't carry 15.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know what their full roster looks like, but I mean, that sounds like first round exits to me.
It could very well be, and if LSU exits in the first round, that's a big deal. Same with Tennessee.
Yep.
I mean, that was obviously there was a reason why it was like 1 versus 5, I think, or something like that. They're both highly ranked teams, and obviously it was. I mean, it looked like LSU was getting beat most of the game. So, but I didn't see what spawned the fight. Did you see anything about it?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was, there was a little bit of a scuffle, and then one of the girls came by and was, it looked like she was going to kind of shoulder check her, and LSU, kind of shoved off, and then the tall girl, what was her name? She came in and cleaned her up. Like, she just came in, shoved her straight to the ground. And then, as you can imagine, from there, everybody comes in. As soon as somebody hits the floor, everybody's going to run in. And so it was. It wasn't anything crazy, right? Like they came together, but it's not like people were throwing punches or anything like that. So it's not like the fight got way out of hand or anything. But someone hit the floor. There's pushing and shoving. I didn't realize so many people got booted out of the game, though. I figured there was probably a couple, but that's a lot.
And it was 6 players ejected after scuffle in the SEC title game between South Carolina and LSU.
Yep.
It was LSU guard. I can't say that name. Flau'jae Johnson. I may have killed it. Committed an intentional foul on Gamecocks freshman Malaysia Fulwiley. Johnson then pushed South Carolina. It was South Carolina, not Tennessee. That's what I'm. Forward Ashlyn Watkins as the latter approached her, and that's when everything got into a mess. Like I said, anybody who got ejected will not be able to play in the first round, the next game. They're suspended for 1 game, and the next game is going to be the tournament.
It's the start of the March Madness. So interesting. That's a huge loss. And potentially ends up in a loss.
Well, and I'm surprised. Like Dawn Staley. I mean, Dawn Staley is the coach of South Carolina, and she's like a no nonsense coach. I mean, there was conversation about her coaching the Sixers at some point. Like that was like she's that good of a coach and she's that much no nonsense. So it surprised me that this even occurred. And like the LSU coach, she's the one that kind of reminds me of Tammy Faye Baker. Yeah, okay. She's got that flamboyant, dress that she wears. Like she's always shinier than everything else around her. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I guess she's got the Tammy Faye Baker part of her. But she's also a great coach. I mean, obviously they won the championship last year. So this is probably, this is a big deal as to set the tone for the tournament moving forward. But, it's some of those players ain't going to play. So I wonder if how bad it's going to be. Interestingly enough, the starting 5 that was for LSU, none of them, I believe, did get ejected. Oh, no. Remaining players for LSU was Johnson, Reese, HVL, Williams, and Morrow. For South Carolina, it was Watkins, Fulwiley, Fegan, Hall, Raven, Johnson. Everyone else has been ejected.
Wow.
So they ejected both teams. It says only 6, but that's how do you 5? There was only 5 left on each side. just enough for each one of them to.
So they could finish the game, right?
Right,
They were going to
exactly.
bounce everybody, but they're like, everybody's here. Might as well finish the game.
Actually, now the rule states that if you don't have enough players on the team, you play with less.
Yeah.
So if they didn't have 5 aside, one would have played with 4.
Imagine if it was just 1-on-1. Full court 1-on-1. Let's do this.
That's good. That'd be kind of funny. Or like even 3-on-3 even. I mean, because it was a 6-point game at that point. I mean, it was over. There was really only like 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
And you thought that South Carolina had it under control. It wasn't anything like that. But Derrick Henry to the Ravens. I am looking for that right now as we speak.
Yeah, the sticking to basketball. Let's see if I can get this queued up here. Got the coach of Utah State. Let's see, Kyler Ard. She ends up losing, and here we'll play this clip here.
Roll the clip.
How do you plan to rebuild for next season?
I'm not going to be rebuilding. I just coached my last game at Utah State. I spoke with Diana, and they're going in a different direction. I respect her decision. I hope they get a really good coach in.
So
I did see that.
So here's my issue with this, right? Like you get fired between the game and taking the podium, which is not a lot of time, right? So they don't prep the rest of the media, right? And the thing that's wild to me about it, like if this was done and like she handled it as professionally as you could have, but if you're the AD that just fired this person, like you should take the podium and be like, yeah, we're moving on or whatever. It seems crazy to me to be like, yeah, so on a side note, you're fired, but I do have another job for you to do. You don't work here anymore, but I have more work before you can go home. Like, like if you knew you were getting fired, but you were gonna have that conversation like after the presser, that makes sense. But if you get fired and then they're like, yeah, so if you could just like stick around for a little bit, do some more work, that seems crazy to me. Like that AD should have went in there and been like, yeah, we moved on from our coach. We appreciate everything she did, blah, blah, blah. You know, the normal BS that they say. But to make her go in front of the camera after just getting fired and then the media not having anything prepped. So like you were going to ask questions, right? That now you can't because that person's not going to be there anyway. Seems crazy to me.
No, I get it. And it's so funny that they did send her out for that press conference. Yeah, it's like, hey, it is what it is. Some of these are nuts. Some of these colleges are crazy. They don't really know what to do. That's the problem with that's the athletic director. That's an athletic director problem, actually.
Yeah, 100%.
That's a really,
yeah.
So, real quick, guys.
That's why I said the AD should have been the one that took the podium in that instance, right? Like you let your coach go. They're not an employee anymore. You can't ask them to do more work. So then you take the podium and you're like, hey, we lost our game. We're out of the tournament. We're looking to go a different direction. Wish her the best or, whatever normal crap that they would say. But yeah, to make her take that presser is nuts to me. Like that doesn't make any sense. Laptop died, huh?
Not yet.
It's working on it.
Now, I switched to the camera is because the laptop is going to die here shortly, and I want to be able to get through this as best as possible. So I was going to try to make it to. I have to make it to the hour mark, so I have to go back on it and then come back off. So it's going to be. I'm going to be going back and forth here a little bit today. You got to get unique with some of the things when you're dealing virtual.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was one of the weirder situations to occur. Yeah. It's just like, oh yeah, I just coached my last game. Sorry guys, thank you.
Well, I mean,
it was great. Hope they find a good coach.
When they're asking you, oh, how are you going to rebuild? It's like, well, I'm not. Right? Like, and any other question from that point really doesn't matter. right? Which is why she was just like, that's probably the last question, right? And then got up and left because it's just like, yeah, of course it is. Because
Right.
anything you say from here isn't going to matter anyway.
Yeah, I'd like to. Hey, listen, if anybody needs a coach, I'm available. That's what I because you can't really throw your players under the bus or anything like that. It becomes a little bit of a different scenario in that regard. You know, it's just. But I would definitely throw the college under the bus. Be like, listen, my players played great, and I love all them, and the fact that they're doing me this dirty, I feel like I should, leave a turd behind on the seat so that they have to clean it up. You know what I mean? That's because that's what I'm sure she felt that way. I'm sure she's like,
yeah,
screw you. You're making me have to do this. This is the way you want to handle this.
Exactly. No, and that's why I said like that was crazy to me because it's, if you waited till after the presser, that makes sense, right? But to do it before in between, because that's bang bang, right? Like you come out of the game, you got like 10, 15 minutes, and then you're on the presser. So like it doesn't seem like it was handled very well. We'll put it that way. Yeah. So I don't know. It was newsworthy. Check your headphone jack because you're kind of popping when you talk.
It's still.
Yeah. I don't know if maybe it's a connection issue or something, but you got kind of a weird sound
here for a little while. It's when I have them both open. I'm gonna switch up again just because I had to go through. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah. No, the sound's way better on your laptop for sure.
Right. Well, no, and with the laptop open, I'm having the problem. So it's more or less. It just becomes more when I'm have both open.
I gotcha.
And I need to be on the laptop to do the commercials and get everything.
Oh,
Once we have everybody here, the moment Jay shows up, I can kind of switch off the laptop until the very end. So, but that's kind of the part of, okay, here's what I'm doing right now and trying to save as much battery as possible. Because like I said, there ain't no plugs in the pool. So
shocker. Don't bring your toaster.
Exactly. Like, yeah, just throw this in. Let's make this all occur. But and we did say Jay was going to be here, right? I know that he's got stuff going on.
So he was. They're doing their recording this morning, so he should be here for the second half of the show.
Gotcha. So, real quick, I mean, obviously, any thoughts on the Russell Wilson to the Steelers signing?
So it's funny because obviously, it's a good fit for the Steelers, right? They get him for nothing. They get him for $1.5 million. So even if he's terrible, you didn't waste any money on it, right? And he's still going to be an upgrade from Mason Rudolph. So, and they've already shown you that they like Rudolph over Pickett anyway. So Russ is a solid upgrade in that aspect. Getting out of the Broncos makes a ton of sense. The team, they just never meshed right. And then him and Sean Payton really were never on the same page. Like you could watch that. It's not like that was behind closed doors. Like they were very public about it. So
right.
Him getting out of there made a ton of sense. It does seem wild to me that they're like, you know what? We're going to eat $85 million for you to just go away. Like that seemed insane. But then there is that funny element to it. I actually put a poll out on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it today. I was like, with Russ going to Pittsburgh, do you like him the same amount? Do you like him less? Did this unlock a new achievement of hate? Because the first Super Bowl that the Seahawks went to was against the Steelers, where even the NFL admitted there was some lopsided, officiating, right? And so now, the idea, the rumblings I was hearing, which made me put this poll out, was, did this make it? Is this like the finishing, exclamation point on the betrayal of Russ for the Seahawks to go to the Steelers, right? So the poll is actually going a lot differently than I thought it would. But I thought there was going to be a lot more bitter responses, but it hasn't been too bad. But, at the end of the day, he's going to be an upgrade for the Steelers. That was a team that just needed competent quarterback play, kind of like Atlanta. They have a good defense. They have a receiver, right? So, I mean, you know, if Russ can go there and be okay, that's a team that can be a problem. Although any of the Russ haters are hoping that he goes there and delivers Tomlin's first losing season.
Yeah, and I think that that's the one thing that I kind of like about this move is that he is able to hide there. That's
Yes.
where I think Russell Wilson hides in Pittsburgh. I don't think that he is, he's definitely not the Russell Wilson of old. He's not the guy who's going to be able to really make stuff happen there like he did when he was with Seattle. You know what I mean? And I don't know that that team is good enough to even get past anybody who is still on the premier side of the AFC. Like, is he going to beat the Chiefs? Is he going to beat the Bills? Is he going to beat the Dolphins? You know, as I start to think about
the defense could beat the Dolphins, especially because the Dolphins defense has gotten worse, right? They did lose some players, and it's not like it was an elite unit anyway. I think the Pittsburgh offense will be able to score enough points, and that defense will be able to stop Miami at least a couple of times. So that's a game they can win. The Bills are definitely a game they can win. The Bills have also lost some pieces this year. I really think that the Bills kind of Super Bowl window has mostly closed after this last season. Last season, I thought was their best shot for it. So, I mean, they do have some games they can win there. So I think they'll be a decent team. I don't think they're going to be great, but I think they'll be decent. And with Russ being capable, right? Like, he doesn't have to go and play hero ball. He just has to take care of the football, which he generally does.
Right. Well, like I said, I know that they're good enough to be above 500.
Yes.
And obviously that the ownership of the Steelers is getting tired of being first round exits. You know, they want more from, and how do you fire a coach who's never had a losing season? I guess.
Although they were talking about it.
Yeah, it's like, I guess it's like, hey, it's actually, they wanted him to resign.
Yeah.
And he's like, he played the wolf. I'm not leaving.
Yep.
So it's, which I think is kind of, like I said, when you haven't had a losing season, it's really tough because I got to imagine anybody would want him. But
the list would be long.
Yeah, he's an affable enough guy that he would absolutely probably go to television for a year before he'd go. Yeah, I don't think he would just go from Steelers, let go, and not take a year off.
I mean, it depends on the opportunity, I guess. Because, like, had he been out and out fired, does Atlanta go get him? I could see that. Does the Panthers go a different route? Sure. Right? Part of that ownership group used to be part of the Steelers ownership group. Washington, similarly, right? That ownership group used to have ties to Pittsburgh as well. So both of those teams know Tomlin well. So, I mean, he would have had plenty of options. Now, does he go to the Panthers? Probably not, because that's a disaster. Washington, if you wanted to do a full rebuild, that would have been your spot, right? Or if you want a team that you can immediately do some work with, Atlanta, right, would have been an option for him because all of those rumblings were happening before the end of the season. So it's not like any of those teams had selected new coaches yet. So, I mean, there was a lot of ways that had he been let go or quit or, however that worked out, there were lots of places he could have ended up. Right.
Well, I agree. I just don't think he will. I think that if he was to resign or get fired, I think initially he's going to take a year off, and I think that's just weigh your options. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I've done this for a long time. I'm good at what I do, obviously. I'll share my resume out on television. because that's ultimately what he'd be doing. He'd be sharing his resume out on television to a bunch of people. So,
yeah, I think you're right. I think he would do that unless he was offered that Atlanta job. I think he would have taken that because that's immediately step back in. You're going to still have winning seasons. You're competing for that division. It's not like you're going to a dumpster fire. So I think he might have taken that one, but otherwise, yeah, no, I think you're right. I think he'd spend some time in the booth.
well, on that note, we have reached the top of the hour. I was hoping Jay would make it here in time, but obviously he is not. So we will do our station identification, and hopefully he will be up. We got one stat guy coming in right there at the wire. And Jay will be in probably in between these commercial messages. So stay tuned. We will be right back after these important messages. Yeah, right.
I mean, you can see right now without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate. All right, I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this.
Oh, I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Sometimes, all you need to change your life is a sign. A sign that says, "Hank, this is the place you've been looking for." And sometimes that sign is an actual sign that's mounted to a building. One second, I'm looking at a sign. I know what you're thinking, and no, I don't love B-dubs just because I'm a buffalo with wings. Frankly, that's offensive and reductionist. Cause this place, come on. It's like they took beer and made it into a place and then gave that place sports and chicken wings. And the people, Cuba, the best. Oh! What the is going on, Marty? This isn't a game, this is trivia! Yeah, this place is kind of like heaven. You know, without needing to get hit by a bus. Let's go, sports bar!
Supporting the needs of our veterans. That's the goal of all of us at Team AmVets. Like Mitch, Carlos, and Kevin from our Welcome Home team that brings furniture to our vets.
We are Team AmVets.
Or Linda from our thrift stores who brings you great bargains every day.
I am Team AmVets.
And John, who picks up your thrift store donations that support California veterans programs.
I am Team AmVets.
Visit our website or a Team AmVets thrift store to donate or shop today.
Join the team!
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And we are back, and everybody's here for the full, second hour of Coast to Coast. We welcome Stat Guy and Jay. What's up, guys?
Well, not a whole hell of a lot in Dallas, apparently, because you still have no running back.
You have no running back, and you know what? We went through the list for the last 2 days of stuff that went on, and not one Cowboy situation.
Not one. But
not one.
Well, we knew that, though, didn't we? We talked about this earlier about the captain situation. So we kind of knew that they really didn't have a whole hell of a lot to work with at the beginning. So the only way they're going to get a running back at this point is in the draft, and hopefully, there'll be one that slides down to the 24th spot, which I think there will be, honestly.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
maybe.
I don't know that there's a true number one, like first round running back in this draft anyway.
And there may not be. I have to go back and look at it, but you may be right. Well, actually, Blake Corum is coming out, correct?
Say that again.
Isn't Blake Corum? He's coming out in this draft, isn't he? Or is he staying in school?
I thought he declared, but I guess I'd have to look.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But
okay.
All I can say is we paid $10 million for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, you did.
We paid $10 million for Sam Darnold, and we could have had Jameis Winston. Oh my God!
How do you feel about that?
Well, it's a good thing you got Aaron Jones.
How do I feel? How do I feel about that? I would rather have Nick Mullins start with Sam Darnold, because at least Nick Mullins, even if he turns the ball over 3 times a game, he's not afraid to fling it and throw for 350 yards. Sam Darnold will throw 3 interceptions on 10 passes.
I thought Sam Darnold was a little bit better than that at what was he in Carolina?
Carolina. Mm-hmm.
6 games that he played in Carolina, yeah. But
then he went to San Fran, and now he's in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean it. So when he was with Carolina, though, it's not like he out and out won that job. Like that was quarterback by committee.
Yeah,
which means you're not that good.
Baker Mayfield was the starter.
That's even worse for him, right? When you can't even win a damn quarterback by committee, and you're supposed to be the guy, and you're giving $10 million to.
What Sam Darnold's always going to be known for?
Though.
Yeah. what Sam Darnold's always going to be known for is he lost his starting quarterback job to statistically the second worst quarterback in the NFL.
No, he's going to remember for ghosts.
That too. But if I'm going to spend $10 million on a quarterback for 1 year, I would have gave it to Gardner Minshew or Jameis Winston, because at least Gardner Minshew has shown that he can win, and at least Jameis Winston isn't afraid to chuck the ball downfield. I don't even know what to expect out of Sam Darnold at this point.
So I think that domino dropped after the other two had already found landing spots, though.
Yeah.
No, because Winston signed this morning.
Okay. So Winston was still available. Oh,
yeah, Winston was available until about 11 o'clock this morning when he went to Cleveland, which is why I'm like, if you're going to spend $10 million on Darnold and Winston signed for 8, wouldn't you just give Winston 8 and be like, come be our starter?
I mean, didn't you just say you were worried about picks, though? That's what Winston does.
Well, I'd rather have a guy that can throw the ball downfield, though. Like, Darnold is afraid to throw the ball downfield. When you have a guy like Justin Jefferson, you can't be afraid to throw it downfield.
Yeah, but Winston has a 30 for 30 every year, and it's not on ESPN.
But I mean, that was the big thing, though, about Darnold. Is Darnold has a cannon for an arm. Everything else sucks about him.
Yeah, like I would.
It would be great throwing downfield if you got a cannon. If your accuracy's not good, though, I guess what difference does it make, right?
Well, and what the Vikings have, the 11th pick
for now, and now after this, I'm not gonna be surprised to see if Minnesota tries to move up to Atlanta's spot at 8. Now that Atlanta's got Cousins.
Yep.
Because if Minnesota, I guess, is trying their ass off right now to move up, whether it's the top 10, top 5, and now that Atlanta's got Cousins, 11 to 8 seems like the most likely spot at this point. But you could even see Minnesota try to get to that number 6 spot where the Giants are picking.
Well, I mean, as I was saying earlier, obviously they picked up Minshew, the Raiders, but you see, I think that they are dumb enough to trade a couple of first-round picks for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is trying to go there, and now that Chicago is stuck with Justin Fields because there is no more location for him to go unless they try to trade. Where?
Minnesota. I'm at the point now where if I'm Minnesota, I'm trading for Justin Fields. What do you have to lose?
But you just
have nothing to lose because you can
Darnold, though.
You can literally have Darnold as your backup if Justin Fields doesn't work out, and you can still draft a quarterback at number 11. You have nothing to lose if you're Minnesota.
Since you're a Vikings fan, where's Justin Jefferson going?
That right now, I think he stays in Minnesota as long as Minnesota drafts the quarterback he wants.
Okay.
Right. If it's JJ McCarthy, I think Justin Jefferson's going to demand a trade before the season's over. But if it's somebody else that he wants, I think he works it out, and it's like as long as Darnold's not the long-term option. That's why I said at this point, what do you have to lose? You bring in Justin Fields, who's on the final year of his deal. You have Darnold, who's on a 1-year deal. You can still draft somebody at number 11, but at least Justin Fields gives you a fighting chance because of his athleticism to make things happen that Darnold can't do.
Would you think that Chicago would trade Justin Fields in division?
I mean, Detroit did it with Hawkinson.
Yep.
And it worked out for Detroit quite well because they got Laporta out of it plus an NFC championship berth last year.
Honestly, that trade worked for both teams.
Yeah. I mean, if the Bears are sold on Caleb Williams anyways, you're going to have to take what you can get for him.
So the other thing that's happening in Chicago that we didn't mention is that they have allotted $2 billion to the site and a site for the new stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So they are going to start investing some of this money, and it's about time because I went to Soldier Field and I thought it would be better than it was. It sucked there. It was not a very good stadium.
It does suck.
I mean, other than the fact that it was cold, being in Chicago, it's, obviously it's going to be cold in the wintertime. When you're in December in Chicago, it's chilly. You know what I mean? That's kind of what happens. But I thought that it would be a better spot, and it's just like I thought it would be like iconic, like it's Soldier Field, like it's
right.
I still hear Pat Summerall saying Soldier Field, like you kind of look at it it sounded to me similar to Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra, and like Soldier Field was like this iconic spot. It was not. And that's
at what point do you let go of the iconic part of the field and realize, hey, we're either going to do a serious refurbishing of Soldier, or we just need to come out and buy a brand new ass.
They tried that. They tried that. They blew a lot of money, and it still sucked.
And of course, all the Bears fans, welcome to April 1st show. Hater National.
Hater April 1st. That is awesome. That is awesome.
Way to get after an entire fan base.
Awesome. You really think Justin Fields is possibly going to go to the Giants? I just don't see that occurring. Yeah, as I see what he's saying there, that the Giants are looking to maybe pursue on that.
The Bears don't have many options at this point, though.
That would be a very Giants thing to do. You got rid of your running back. You don't really have a lot of prospects. Your line is trash.
You have zero.
Let's go get a guy that struggled behind a bad and O-line.
Well, you had a rookie. Was it a rookie or I guess it's his second year lineman. And then you just picked up John Runyon Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Now, which is an upgrade. Definitely. It's definitely an upgrade for that offensive line. Now, they still need more. Was it Neal? I think Neal was is it second year?
Yeah, something like that. Second or third.
Yeah. So, I mean, he wasn't great last year, but maybe like I said, the Eagles are always holding a guy back a year. They need to send all of their linemen to Stoutland's University, and Stoutland's. That's a real thing. Starting guys. The reason why Jordan Mailata was so great is because he spent 3 years at Stoutland University before he got to play down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he ate, drank, crapped, and slept playing offensive tackle on either side. So he learned really the biggest thing, the most important thing of playing offensive tackle. And I only know this because my brother was an offensive tackle. And he was a D3 offensive tackle, so he didn't play in like very high levels. But he said, and I got this from him, the most important thing is the first step when you're an offensive tackle. That first step, if you're a right, you got to do that, your left foot back. If you're a left, you got to put your right foot back. And you got to make sure that it's there and it's planted, because when it's run plays are easy. You're going forward.
Yeah, right. Because that's your anchor to
exactly. Yeah, you got to get that shuffle step down.
Yeah.
Your sound is still really messed up.
Is it?
You're popping as you talk.
All right. How about now?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's
better.
better. Yeah, it's better.
That's better.
I don't even hear you guys at all. Hold on now. Talk around me.
Yeah. Well, welcome to live podcasting. This is
Because if you're like realistically though, if you're the Bears right now, you have literally two choices.
Yep.
Choice number one is you hold on to Justin Fields and you have Fields and Caleb Williams on your roster, which is going to be a media circus because it's going to be a nightmare.
Yes.
Option number two is you have to trade him for what you can get. You cannot just release him and not get anything for him. And realistically, the only teams right now that are in position that need a quarterback are the Giants, because I think they regret every single penny of that Daniel Jones contract.
Yep.
Minnesota, because they have a bunch of quarterbacks on a one-year deal and they're expected to draft somebody for the future. So that's still a one-year spot where he can potentially save his career and maybe sign a multi-year deal next year. Or option three is Vegas, because it appears that Aiden O'Connell they don't trust. They just brought in Gardner Minshew as a bridge. But with Luke Getsy as the OC there, that's obviously probably not the best spot for him to go because of what just happened with Luke Getsy the last 2 years. So really the two options are the Giants or the Vikings, or you hold on to
I know they got Howell, but are they really sold on Howell?
Well, they're gonna take a quarterback number two. It's gonna be either Drake May or Jaden Daniels that Washington's gonna take number two.
Well, and Mariota went to Washington also.
Yeah, so I mean Washington's
right. I did see that.
So yeah, I mean Washington's gonna draft a quarterback number two. Then it's gonna basically be Mariota and Sam Howell competing for the backup job, because I fully expect if Washington drafts Drake May, that Drake May is gonna be starting week 1. So yeah, if you're the Bears, you don't have any.
Crazy, but what about the Jets to put him behind Aaron Rodgers? Because Aaron Rodgers not going to be there forever. He's only got a few seasons left in him to be the heir apparent, and maybe he can learn from Aaron. Not that Aaron really teaches, but
yeah.
Well, I mean, they still have Zach Wilson as the backup. Yet they have not cut Zach Wilson, so.
Yeah, I mean, you have to imagine Wilson's going to be out of the room. I don't know why you'd keep him. At this point, you've repeatedly shown that he's not your guy.
Oh, absolutely. He's repeatedly shown that. Yeah, I would definitely. That's one guy I would for sure cut and let him pick up somewhere else if he can.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the Jets should have went after Jacoby Brissett, who just signed with the New England Patriots, because I think Jacoby Brissett would have been the perfect backup for Aaron Rodgers.
But let me ask you this though: if that was in their mindset to trade Justin Fields, would we already be seeing rumors or rumors out there that hey, they're trying to? I mean, wouldn't that already be kind of?
There has been rumors going on for months, and the one team they wanted to trade Justin Fields to just signed Kirk Cousins to $180 million. Yeah. Atlanta was that team that everyone expected Justin Fields to go to because he's from the Atlanta area. It was the team that ultimately made the most sense for Justin Fields when you look at the talent that they have on offense with Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Tyler Algier, and all those pieces they have in place. It was the deal that made the most sense, but the problem was Kirk Cousins was also linked to Atlanta, so the Bears had to see what was going to happen with Kirk Cousins. If Cousins would have signed with Minnesota yesterday, I guarantee that Fields would have been traded to Atlanta today. It's the fact that Cousins signed that deal with Atlanta for as big as it was that literally just kills that Justin Fields market.
Do you think that Atlanta, is going to have Byron Morris give all that money to Kurt like that?
No, just because it's not
getting the quarterback in the draft and just find a really good one because they drafted like 3, right?
Oh, they're 8.
Oh, Atlanta's at 8.
Yeah.
I mean they can get a good quarterback at that position, and from the way it sounds, Kirk Cousins' contract is mostly front loaded.
Yeah, it's $100 million guaranteed. So it's not a fully guaranteed contract like his last two. It's front loaded where he gets $45 million this year, $35 million next year, and then $20 million in year 3. So year 4 is not even a guarantee at this point.
Yeah. So I mean, if you were to go ahead and draft somebody, which they likely would, about the time that you have to worry about that quarterback, potentially getting money, Kirk is done. So, I mean, the way they structured it, it actually makes a lot of sense for Atlanta.
And Atlanta.
The only thing I'm worried about with Atlanta is the fact that can Kirk actually stay healthy the full season, because he does have an issue with staying healthy.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Last year was the first time that he's been hurt in his entire career.
That's the first. Yeah, it's like the first snaps he's missed.
I thought he had 2 seasons where he was battling injuries.
No, he's been one of the most durable quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's a lot of. That's one of the things That's one of the things that the NFL does not give that man enough credit for. That man takes an absolute beating every single game at the quarterback position, and he's like Brett Favre, where he just gets up and takes another hit. Like last year was the first time that an injury actually
did he sustain last year, though? Was it his arm? What is his shoulder or
Achilles?
It was an Achilles
injury. Achilles. Okay, that's right. Okay, Achilles. Okay.
And it wasn't even a hit. It was just a misplant when he was trying to roll out of the pocket. So it wasn't that he actually got hit.
Those little weird plants. I mean, it doesn't take much to jack up an Achilles if you do it the wrong, if you hit it the wrong way, especially when you put the torque on it.
With Atlanta, Atlanta's got a good offensive line. So Kirk Cousins is not going to get hit as much in Atlanta as he did in Minnesota. And plus, now they added Darnell Mooney. So now you got Pitts, Mooney, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Tyler Algier. So Cousins is going to have the weapons offensively.
Oh, he's definitely got the weapons. I mean, he's got the big three, right? He's got the tight end in Pitts, London at the wide receiver 1, and then he's got Robinson as a great running back, and he's got a good offensive line. I mean, you're right. He has everything he needs. If he can't be successful there, then it just wasn't in the cards for him.
Well, and in that division, like he literally could be trying for one of his best seasons of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The only thing that concerns me is just Raheem Morris, because I do not trust Raheem Morris as a head coach.
And what do you think? He's more of just a great coordinator,
I think he's like the Josh McDaniels of the defensive side, where he's always going to be a great defensive coordinator. His defenses are always going to be top 10 caliber defenses. He just, for whatever reason, can't put it together as a head coach.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he can't come out and be a good head coach with this lineup of players, then you're right. I mean, he just wasn't in the cards for him either. I guess Atlanta's going to find out a lot this year, right?
Well, on the plus side, they were bad, so they're.
Right. They really know.
They weren't bad. They were the definition of mediocrity. 3 straight 7-10 seasons under Arthur Smith.
Yeah, but in a division that was bad, that's bad.
Yeah.
Right. So I look at it as they're not going to have a lot of primetime games, which is going to benefit Kirk Cousins.
That was where I was going. That's where I was going to go.
At least for now, just because if Atlanta does get off to a good start.
Oh, Philly sports guy.
Then you can start seeing maybe Atlanta start getting flexed into later games towards the end of the year if they get off to a good start.
Yeah, I mean the first Monday night flex.
But at this point, I don't even think Cousins is going to be ready by week 6.
Right. So Cousins was your guy for a long time. How many interceptions do you predict he will have in his first year with Atlanta?
I mean, go ahead.
Well,
if we're going off the full season, or how many games do I think he's going to play?
Well, I guess both then.
Shit. I think he's only going to play 11 games because I don't see him ready the first 6 weeks because of how late he tore the Achilles. So I think they put him on the PUP list, which means you're out for 6 weeks. So if he plays 11 games, I think he throws 11 or 12 interceptions just because he's not going to have the chemistry with this group yet that he had with Minnesota. Next year now, in year 2, when he has that full offseason with this team, I think he throws less than 10 because I think he's got the weapons where he could have the best season of his career. I just think this year will be kind of that learning curve like his first year in Minnesota where he only had 12 interceptions, but it wasn't like a crisp first year in Minnesota because he wasn't used to that group yet. And then every single year he got better in Minnesota because he had more chemistry.
Go ahead, let it out.
I like the Pags. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna check out.
No, because the truth of the matter is he's a coach killer. He's a coach killer, and that's all I know of him. It's like he is Jeff George without the attitude.
Oh, damn.
You know what I mean? That's who he is, and it's just like he can't win big games. He cannot. He does well certain times, but I think it gets in his head a little bit with the, hey, we're going to play a primetime game. We're going to lose that game because obviously he's going to a new team. They're not going to think that way because they don't have primetime games. They just don't see them very much. So nobody cares about Atlanta at all. But I don't know. I think that I think he's going to stink like he has up to this point. And I think Atlanta's got a tight end. They got a running back. Who's catching the ball there? Who's the receiver?
Kyle Pitts, because Kirk Cousins actually uses the tight ends a lot. which is why TJ Hawkinson's numbers went through the roof as soon as
So
he got.
okay, there, Robert. He went to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
13-4. There was some big wins in that. 2 big playoff wins, and he went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing with Cousins, right? Is he has 1 playoff win, period.
Right.
Total.
Right.
For his career. So
yeah, that puts a big hole in your argument there, Robert.
Some of that I can't fault on Cousins though, because you look at when he was in Washington. Washington had one of the worst defenses in the NFL his entire tenure in Washington, so he was expected to score 35 points per game if he wanted a chance to win. And he still got Washington to the playoffs 1 year. They didn't win the game, but he threw for 395 yards and 2 touchdowns in that playoff game against the Packers. So it's not like he played terrible. And then the time that he made the playoffs with Minnesota, he beat the Saints in overtime at New Orleans. Then they went to San Francisco and lost. But that game was tied heading into the fourth quarter, and Cousins was actually outplaying Jimmy Garoppolo until San Francisco just ran the clock out for the most part in the fourth quarter. So when he gets to the playoffs, he doesn't play bad. Even last year when Minnesota lost to the Giants, Cousins had over 330 yards passing in that game. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Why did they lose that game? Because the defense couldn't stop Barkley. It wasn't on him, so I can't blame a lot of the losses on him.
no, it's funny because like he's always been a stat monster, right? Just through his whole career he has. But it's hilarious because when you look at Cousins, for whatever reason, he ends up on the losing side of that. And when you look at Jimmy G, despite the fact that he's a liability, he ends up on the winning side of those games somehow.
And the thing that nobody gave Cousins enough credit for last year, he led the NFL in fourth quarter comeback wins last year. Not 2023, but 2022. He led the NFL in fourth quarter comeback wins with 9. Minnesota was 11-0 in 1-score games in 2022, and the reason for that was because Kirk Cousins actually led them to a victory when they needed it. So a lot of people say, yes, he can't win the big game. Yes, he's not clutch. Watch 2022. He was very clutch in 2022. He won several big games in 2022 to keep Minnesota relevant. And even last year against Philadelphia, that second week of the season when Philadelphia beat Minnesota on Monday night, it wasn't because Cousins lost on primetime. It's because Minnesota had 4 fumbles in the first half. One by
Thursday night, by the way.
Was it Thursday night? Yeah, Thursday night. Yeah. One by Jefferson that went out of the end zone for a touchback. 2 by Alexander Madison, with one of them coming inside the Eagles' 15-yard line, and then a third fumble by TJ Hawkinson in the fourth quarter. Cousins had 374 yards passing against the Eagles that game. He did what he could to win that game, and Minnesota lost by 7 points.
No, I mean, it's just
seems like there's a
whatever
little bad
reason.
luck around Cousins. I think it's sometimes, but I agree. And the thing about it is, when he goes to Atlanta, I'm really going to be curious to see what Kyle Pitts can actually become, who Kyle Pitts was supposed to be coming out of Florida. Because, like you said, he wasn't used a whole hell of a lot.
No, he will, because Cousins
he
uses
uses
the tight
ends. This could be the breakout season for Kyle Pitts.
Because Cousins loves using tight ends, and I think that's going to be the ultimate X factor. Yes, adding Mooney adding Mooney is a big pickup too, but I think the ultimate X factor this year is going to be Pitts because of how much Cousins
I
uses
agree.
tight ends.
I agree.
Now, I mean, whether it's Cousins' fault or not, the teams he's on comes up short in primetime moments. And there's a funny thing about the playoffs is every one of those games is in primetime.
Yep. Unless you get the noon game on a Sunday.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Or that ridiculous Monday night playoff games.
Right.
Yeah,
If you-
that's true. The schedule this year was a little weird.
Because if you look at the one playoff game that Cousins won, it was the noon game at New Orleans.
Exactly.
And then he lost at 3 o'clock at San Francisco the week after that. And the game they lost to the Giants last year was 3 o'clock on a Saturday in Minnesota. It wasn't a noon game.
So he's scared of the dark. I get it. It's fine.
But that was also, but that Giants game was also a revenge game.
Yeah.
You remember that the Giants lost in the last minute against them, and they really outplayed the Vikings that entire game.
I even said that coming into that game. I said the worst possible matchup Minnesota could have had in that first round was the Giants, just because the Giants saw them 2 weeks before that, because they saw them in week 16 or week 17. So it's not like they saw anything different. Minnesota had to play their starters that entire game because they were still battling for home field at that point.
Right.
So it's not like the Giants didn't see anything they didn't expect.
What did y'all think about Mixon? I thought the Houston Texans did a really good job. They let go of Singletary or let him walk, but then they bring in Mixon, and I really thought that was a good pickup by those guys. What are y'all thoughts now with that pickup by Houston?
No, it's a solid pickup.
But I thought they kind of hurt themselves a little bit when they let Greenwood go to Minnesota. He put up 12 sacks last year. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what D'Amico was thinking by letting him go and not trying to keep him on.
Well, they did sign another linebacker though, and it was a pretty hefty contract. I'm using the phone that I would do all that research on, and but there was a linebacker that I remember them. I mentioned that was like a 4-year, $60 million deal or something like that. 61.5 million.
Are you talking Houston Texans?
Yeah. Houston Texans were actually fairly active yesterday.
They got Aziz El, however, I don't even know how to say that name.
I had the same problem.
Aziz El Jajir. We'll go with that. Aziz El Jajir signed a 3-year, $34 million deal for the linebacker.
You couldn't do any better with that, stat guy. That's as best as you could do.
E-Z-E-E-Z.
Guy, you are a
El
journalist.
Jajir.
You write journalistic stuff. You can't pronounce these words.
No. It's like Office Space, right? And then not gonna work here anymore anyway.
Yeah, and then the Houston Texans also got Jeff Okudah, which is a big pickup for the secondary.
Oh yeah,
They re-signed Dalton Schultz. They got Desmond King. They got the punter from Kansas City yesterday, Tommy Townsend. So Houston's been very active, and
that's because the punter from Kansas City, they got the kid who can kick 100-yard punt.
Yeah, and then I guess they might not be done because.
Hey, by the way, the name of that guy is actually pronounced Aziz Al Shahir. Now, was that so hard?
Houston may not be done yet. Because if you look at T. Higgins,
I was in Afghanistan for a while, so I've learned how to pronounce a lot of those damn names.
If you look at T. Higgins' tweet this morning, T. Higgins said his most preferred destination if he's traded is Houston, because he wants to play with C.J. Stroud. So Houston could be in the running to get T. Higgins yet.
That would be interesting. And of course, when you look at the Bengals, right, this team is going to look wildly different. They have Burrow and Chase, right? But Mixon's gone.
They got Zach Moss.
T. Higgins is, trying to get out of the room. And then Tyler Boyd's a free agent.
Why would Higgins go to Houston? They got like 3 perennial 1,000-yard receivers already over there. What would he benefit? How would they benefit from bringing him over?
Because you got to remember Tank Dell tore his ACL late in the season. He's not going to be ready for week 1. You don't know if I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but you don't know if their other guy's going to have a breakout year like he had this year, because he only had the yards he put up because Tank Dell was hurt half the year. John Mechie is still an unproven option. He was their first-round pick a couple of years ago, and he had to miss his rookie season because of cancer. And then when he played last year, he was very inconsistent at best. So, yes, they might have 3 or 4 wide receiver options, but realistically, they only have 2 go-to options. T. Higgins gives them 3 go-to options.
Well, don't forget Dalton Schultz, though, too. That's a third go-to.
Yeah, but he's the tight end, though. I'm talking like wide receivers that CJ Stroud.
Talking wide receivers? Okay, I understand.
It's Tank Dell. It's Tank Dell who's hurt. It's Nico Collins, who basically emerged when Tank Dell got hurt. But they don't have that third wide receiver option that CJ Stroud can count on. T. Higgins would be that guy.
And not a true number 1. T. Higgins would also be a true number 1 there.
Because I think Tank Dell has the potential to be a number 1, but because he was a rookie last year, you can't cement him as that number 1 yet. He's a very good number 2. Nico Collins.
Didn't Nico do? I thought Nico did a pretty good job submitting as a number. I feel like he's a wide receiver.
Well, he was the number 1 option because Tank Dell got hurt, but he was their number 2 option pretty much all season. So Tank Dell.
But I'm saying if he wasn't for Tank Dell, I think you could slide Nico, and I think he could do the wide receiver 1.
I do too, but. I mean, if you have a guy in T. Higgins that's a bona fide number 1, bring him in. Then you have number 1 and 2 in the
because of the cap space. I'm wondering if they could put that money in other spots on their defense or wherever to improve those spots. Yeah. That's always I was bringing up the T. Higgins.
Well, I like I said, I think T. Higgins would help just about any team, and it didn't matter. Yeah, so like. Houston has already got a pretty good team, and it's interesting to think that just a few years ago they were the laughing stock of the league, and all of a sudden you bring in a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback, and how Yeah, what a difference a day makes. You know what I mean?
Damn right.
That's
Look at Cincinnati. Just 2 or 3 years ago, they were riding the high of, before they met with Kansas City, that they were the next big thing, and Joe's doing the next big thing. And now we're looking at tearing them down, and parts are going here and parts are going there. And now it's like back to normal Cincinnati-ville.
good. Well, Stat Guy will be back in a little bit. He likes to just poof.
And he's gone.
Yeah, he was there.
He'll be back though.
Mandela effect. Was he really here?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. I just feel like with Cincy, they were riding that huge wave of emotions, leading that season. I think it was Joe Burrow's first real season after that injury. And ever since then, it's just been downhill. Nothing has worked right. And now they're dismantling the team. So what does that mean for Joe Burrow?
Oh, and I forgot they did have one other guy end up leaving too. Their tight end Irv Smith Jr. is off to KC. So
well, interestingly enough, that would, if no doubt in my mind, if they were to trade T. Higgins to Houston, they would absolutely go after Justin Jefferson.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah,
why wouldn't they? Yeah. Reunite those two.
Yeah,
because they're not going to be able to survive just with Priest alone.
You'd get those free 2 first-rounders that you could just pass right over to them. So I mean, that you'd get for T. Higgins leaving.
Well, now that Mix is gone, who are they going to rely on now in their running game? I don't know if they have any true. I mean, he was their kind of their running game over there.
Who was the other guy they had? I thought they had somebody else there.
It was I know his name, but I can.
Wasn't it? Wasn't that guy's name Hunt?
Gerard Butler or Gerard something like that.
Gerard Butler. We are Sparta.
No. I think his first name is Gerard or something like that. I don't know why I said Butler, but I think his first name is Gerard. He used to be on my fantasy league a long time ago
Yeah. That's why you don't remember his name and you didn't do very well at that.
No, actually, I came in second place. Thank you very much. Leave me alone.
Devin Singletary. Well, he was at Houston, wasn't he?
Zach Moss is gonna. I guess they got to pencil it as a wide receiver 1. Zach Moss, Chase Brown, Travion Williams, and Chris Evans. I mean, that's all they got on their list right now.
Oh,
I don't know. We'll see. I guess Zach Moss is going to be the next man up.
So, well, listen. I heard that there is, for the Cowboys, Boston Scott's available.
You can keep that shit.
He might be right in your, wheelhouse there in terms of cost.
Yeah, but is it really going to do a damn thing for us? I mean, we got Vaughn, we got Dwiddle. What is Scott really going to do? Anything different? I'm just let them do with the draft. I mean, I think that's going to be the best mode for them. Don't worry about trying to pick up other people. Just handle your business. And Jerry, don't screw this up, damn it. Find somebody to draft.
I'm surprised you got that out without laughing.
Scott is just, I mean, that's almost like an insult at that point.
It's an insult to you? Is that what you're saying?
All of us as Dallas fans. Yes, absolutely. It's an insult. I mean,
well, he's stuck with money.
Who's that?
Yeah, I know. And that's the downside to the hard cap, right? Is because you're right. And Jerry, I mean, if I'm Stephen Jones' son, I'm thinking like, God, Dad got us into a lot of crap. Now I'm going to have to deal with this purgatory for a while to get us out of it. I mean, I got to think he's having these conversations in his head, right? I mean, come on.
He's like, I love you, Dad, but time for you to retire.
Yeah. At some point, do you think that he has something an escalator in his will that says, as maybe Stephen is the executive, like, hey, maybe Dad's a little incompetent. Maybe he's running the business into the ground, and maybe we need to remove him from office and let me go and take over this shit. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that what rich people do, they put people in place that can, if they're incompetent, they can take over.
He's ready to micromanage and be in front of the camera.
Well, my hope and my thought would be maybe that he would be a little different than his pops, but maybe he may be the same. I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think that he would get a GM?
I would hope so.
No way.
I would hope so.
That is.
I don't know Steven all like that. I know Gary like that, but I don't know Steven as a person like that or what he's done business wise is like that.
No, he's going to take over and leave Jerry as the GM.
Even after he passes away, he's going to, from the grave,
100%.
he's going to do seances with a Ouija board and say, "Who should we pick now?" No,
it's going to be an urn. He's going to put the urn at that desk, and the desk is going to be just sit there with an urn in a picture frame.
He's gonna have
speaker box with
forward drafts. He's like, oh, this kid's a red shirt this year, but in 4 years, even though I'm already gone, I want him in the first round.
And it's all going to be on pre-recorded messages played on a tape machine behind the urn with his picture. That's how it's going to be.
It's amazing.
Well, I feel like what's going to happen is in his last thing before he actually leaves the team, he's going to bring in Belichick. So after you guys stink this year, he's going to fire McCarthy. Like I feel like last year, you guys, I was waiting for the implosion to occur and it didn't.
Yeah.
And not that I think that, I was wrong with my thought process. I think that I may have been a year ahead. I think that implosion is going to happen this year.
And I'm fine with that. Can I tell you why? Because look, at some point, no, seriously. I think sometimes I believe in the thought process of sometimes you got to take a step back to really take some steps forward. And so I'm okay if we suck to that point. Matter of fact, I'm really hoping we do. And Michael loses his job. And then hopefully something will happen right. I'm hoping. Now, again, I'm a Cowboys fan, but I am a realistic person, and I have probably the same that he probably will get fired, and we'll bring somebody similar to him. I don't think we're going to go out and get who I would like to see them go get. Right? I would like to see them go get a guy like Lovett. I think he's an exceptional mind. I think he's done great things, and I like the youth movement, and I think he could do really good things.
I don't think he gets fired because this is the last year of his contract anyway, right?
Yes. So I wouldn't necessarily be fired. He would just be let go and bring on somebody different, right?
Yeah, they'll just elevate Zimmer.
You know what? That's the sad part about it. I mean, the devil could be better than the devil you don't. I don't know.
Well, I think Zimmer is going to be part of the reason why you guys have the implosion.
And I would not disagree with that. Mm-hmm. I mean, look what he did out there in Minnesota towards the end before they got rid of him. I mean, what did he really do?
I don't think elevating him is a good move. I just think it's something Dallas would do.
You're actually saying that would be the typical Cowboy thing to do.
100%.
I agree with you. No, I'm with you. No, listen, we are simpatico. I know you're saying it. I agree with it. Look, I've been living this now for 30 years. I'm telling you, that's why I didn't even put up an argument with what you said. I said, yep, that's probably exactly what will happen. Not what I want to happen, but what would happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to wait for management to just die off before you can get better.
And they're doing such a good job of that. Like, that's Jerry Jones is going to be around for a long time.
Jerry Jones is that Keith Richard era guy. It's just going to live forever somehow, despite the fact he's trying to kill himself all the time.
Hey, listen, he goes and gets those blood transfusions and stuff like that. He recirculates the blood. They have ways of being able to take a consciousness and put it into a computer and then switch avatars, bodies, and stuff like that.
Upload. You ever see that movie Upload? There's a series called Upload.
Yeah, it's a good show. It's a good show.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
Jerry's going to be uploaded. Steven's going to go in that little suit that will put him into the upload, and they're going to have conversations, and that's how it's going to work out. Yeah. God, I hate my life.
Or you go, I'm going to go old school sports movie here. Heaven Can Wait.
Oh, man.
That's
been a minute.
Hey, which one was it Ted Cobb? Which one had themselves cryo frozen? I want to say it was Cobb or somebody that had themselves cryogenically frozen. Remember?
Ty Cobb.
Yeah. Maybe Jerry just gets cryogenically frozen, waiting for a cure, and he just comes back.
Cure to what? Old age?
No, like the point where we could take a brain and put it into another body. Or
They can already do that now.
Some kind of crazy shit. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what rich people do. They do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Hey, listen.
That's a world I don't know about.
I figure they're going to bury him underneath that field. That's where they're going to play football over top of his body.
Put him under the star.
Yep.
Because you ain't put him in the end zone, baby. Jerry going to be front and center in the star.
Well, definitely not going to put him in the end zone. Dallas doesn't visit there.
Exactly.
Isn't that? And Seattle's doing that right now. Is that what's going on? Because where were you in the playoffs?
Oh no, they could get in the end zone. Okay, they just couldn't stop anybody.
I mean, you do got your 1-2 Super Bowls, whatever. I get it, man. I'm there. I got it.
No, we only won.
He's only got one.
We've been to 3,
and it was more
recent
than ours, so we can go with that argument too. I'm fine with that.
I mean, they've been to 3 since you guys have won your last one. So
yeah,
there is that.
And I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm not trying to be sarcastic or anything. This is actually an honest question. How many Super Bowls does Philly have?
How many what?
How many Super Bowls do y'all have in Philly? I know you got at least 2 or 3.
What that we've been to?
Super Bowls,
no,
yeah, Super Bowl trophies.
Rings.
Yeah,
we have one.
Yeah.
But we have championships.
Huh?
We have championships.
Yeah, but not.
You've only got one. I thought you had a Super Bowl earlier than that.
We've been to 4 now.
Okay.
We've won 1.
Okay. Yeah, I for some reason, I guess I thought during the Dick Vermeil years, I thought maybe you guys might have captured 1.
Well, no, we didn't win any there. We went one time, and then we had in 1981 was the first strike. I think that's what occurred there, and then then we had the Marion Campbell years, which stunk, and then ultimately we wound up getting Buddy Ryan, which was fun, but yet, and all the championships were being won by Jim Moore and the Philadelphia Stars.
God, it's been a long time ago since that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
okay.
Yeah, Jim Moore. That's where Jim Moore came from. He was the coach of the Philadelphia Stars. And that was with Chuck Fusina at quarterback, Kelvin Bryant as the running back. We had Sam Mills as our cornerback or safety, and we did. We went to the championship. It lasted 3 years. We went to the championship all 3 years.
Let me ask you guys a question, and I'm switching gears a little bit, but I'm staying in Philadelphia, or I'm staying in Pennsylvania. When you slide over to Pittsburgh, we look last year. Take George Pickens for example. Last year with the Steelers, there was a lot of things about him saying that he should have produced more yardage, he should have done this, he should have had more catches, and so forth. And then a lot of the people he was kind of saying, well, throw me the ball more and Lockett, and of course and Trubisky, I guess, weren't getting the ball nearly as much as he wanted. Do you think now that obviously we know what Russell Wilson has done in Denver, which wasn't a whole hell of a lot, but do you think when he goes to Pittsburgh under Mike Tomlin, which is a no-nonsense type of guy, do you think that Pickens is going to get more catches with Russell, who likes to air it out?
It depends on if they go 3 and out a lot, because he doesn't like his tight ends that much.
Right.
So if they can stay on the field, he'll get opportunities to chuck it downfield. But that was one thing that was a problem here in Seattle, especially towards the end, is because he wasn't quite as elusive as he used to be. He still has decent straight line speed, but he doesn't have that ability to pirouette and run around as much. He does end up with a lot more 3 and outs. So although he is a more capable passer, you got to be on the field to do it, right?
So based on that observation, then we know that Pittsburgh had a fairly good team. I mean, if you get past the if you take away the quarterback's position, right? I mean, they had good wideouts, they had good offensive line, good defense. TJ Watt's doing TJ Watt type things, right? Yeah, good running backs with Warren and Najee Harris. I mean, they have a pretty formidable team. They just need some